Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. 2 wins in a row feels good to talk about. This was a stressful baseball game, but then it became a stress-free baseball game. Before we get into the details, though, I am Ron Luce, joined by the one, the only Mr. Joey Ricotta. They call him the cheese man himself. Joey, how you doing, buddy? Cubs win 2 in a row. Feels good to get back in the win column.
Yeah, doing good, Ron. It's always good when you're back in the win column. Back to back now at this point. So feeling good. Yeah, it's the Cincinnati Reds. That's fine. For a little bit there, they were making Vladimir Gas Can look like an all-star. But Gutierrez turned into a gas can, and Ian Happ owns the Cincinnati Reds. So it's pretty good feeling right now.
It is a good feeling. I will start this off before we get into some of these subjects that occurred in tonight's game that are worth talking about. Please fire Aquino to the sun when the Cubs play the Reds, because it's just like he owns the Cubs and no other team. It's just the Cubs, and why wouldn't it be the Cubs? Because that's just how it feels. But nonetheless, outside of him, Tommy Pham, he's back in the NL Central too soon. But otherwise, it was all Cubbies tonight. It felt really good there for a long time. Like you said, Ian Happ absolutely owns the Cincinnati Reds. Why do you think he was my Fly the W player pick? I feel really good about that one right now. Starts the game off with the double after Seiya's double. Also got the 3-run bomb later in the game. He always hits a home run. Even David Ross said it himself. And then Patrick Wisdom, 4 straight games with a home run. He's on a power tear. And you know what? It's amazing that the Cubs listen to Cubs on Tap, because you and I sit here with juice and we bitch and we moan about this team. We can't slug. We can't do this. And then like the next 3 games, what do? Spit in our face metaphorically. So it's like, it feels good knowing that the Cubs listen to Cubs on Tap, Joey. But I mean, let's get your thoughts here. I think Ian Happ is a perfect place to start, because not only am I going to continue to flaunt that he's my Fly the W pick for this series, but I mean, come on, he owns the Reds. He does.
Yeah, man. I mean, he entered this game with 13 home runs at Great American Ballpark. 13 home runs, just insane numbers. I believe they showed, too, in the postgame. I was briefly watching it, that he was second. He came into the game second in slugging to Barry Bonds, minimum of 70 plate appearances against the Cincinnati Reds. Whenever you are in a conversation with Barry Bonds, you know you are an absolute legend against, at least in one area.
Yeah,
like if it's the Cincinnati Reds, fine, so be it. But he absolutely loves playing there. And he almost hit 3 home runs tonight, Ron. Like he only hit 1, but he could have easily had 3 because to the wall 3 times. So you just love to see it. And as you were talking about it on the last show, I was listening to you and Juice, and like you said, you said, I'm asking for slugging. This team just can't slug. And I think you were talking to, was it your mom? And he said, this team just can't slug. And then they spit in your face, like you just mentioned.
I love being wrong when it's good for the Cubs.
Same, dude, same. I would rather be wrong 10 out of 10 times, 100 times over, twice on Sunday. I don't care, as long as it's good things for the Cubs. And, hey, guess what? The bad-mouthing we've been doing about Schwisdom, about both of those guys, and some of the other guys too, right? Like whenever it seems like we talk bad about somebody, even Chris Martin started pitching much better. When I was bad mouthing him to Juice, I was like, this dude is a seatbelt. Every time he's in the game, he's like what people thought that Corey Crawford was, which I love Corey Crawford, by the way, as a goalie for the Blackhawks. Mm-hmm. But some people thought that he was a seatbelt when he was out there. I never had that feeling with him, but with Chris Martin, I absolutely had that feeling. And, I don't know. I think he had a little bit of a rough one here tonight. But with that said, man, it's like you badmouth somebody, they come through for the Cubs. I don't know what it is. We're like the reverse jinx legends at this point. So I love it. I'm just going to keep badmouthing them if that's what it means.
Yeah, sometimes we're not superstitious. We're just a little stitious, okay? Like you got your ways and you start bad-mouthing a guy and good things happen. Then sometimes you're like, you know what? Maybe I do just have to talk shit all the time about these guys, because it feels really good. It's nice to see Patrick Wisdom take the slug as the metaphorical team on his shoulders and just carry it right now. That's refreshing. They need a guy like Wisdom to do that. That's why he's in the lineup, is to bring that slug. And Ian Happ, honestly, maybe it has to do with some of the dead balls, but like Ian Happ is a guy that legitimately, I think his slug could be a little higher. It's been good. Again, I said it on the last show with Juice. He is the one consistent bright spot for this team over the course of this full season so far. He's really the only guy that I can point at and say he hasn't really totally struggled yet. Everybody else has. He hasn't. So that it's still refreshing, but it's like you need a guy like Patrick Wisdom to do that tonight. Good to see him do it. Like you said, Hap could have had 3 home runs tonight. That would have been absolutely epic, but we'll take
4 straight days for Wisdom too. So
that's exactly. So the slug is coming around. I think we can feel very good about that and confident about that. And really, I mean, that was majority of how the Cubs scored their runs tonight. 2 3-run home runs did most of the work except for the Ian Happ double with Seiya on base. Good to see Seiya kind of this be his get right series. Juice picked him as his fly the W player for that reason. Only technically the 1 hit, but he did have 2 walks, 2 runs scored. So still a pretty productive night from Seiya Suzuki getting on base. Being that staple that really he needs to be if this team's going to be competitive. Just kind of in the middle of that cog that is that machine is the lineup. But a couple of quick comments here, Joey, before we get to some of your thoughts. Northside high fives. Hello, Iowa. Scott from Iowa. Yeah, absolutely love that. Quentin coming in with the hot takes here. Wisdom over Slam and Sammy. That's going to anger every Cubs fan that I know, at least. Absolutely agree, Jack. Big steps toward getting that sweep. You were with us yesterday. Appreciate you joining us again, talking a little bit about just what we needed out of this Cincy series. And Joey, I think that's a great spot to look now because you get the slugging, you get the production from Hap, you get the production from Seiya. Really, in my opinion, you get production from 3 of the guys that you need a lot out of, right? Your Wisdom, your Hap, your Seiya. But just overall, this is that kind of get right series, right? We talked about it. Juice and I talked about it at length yesterday. This is the time that guys who have been in a little bit of a slump take advantage of the ballpark. It's a slugger's ballpark, even doubles in the gaps. Look at what Nick Castellanos did there for 2 seasons. Like, he was an all-star and everything like that. This is the ballpark for these guys to get right. And if they're going to put up 7 runs in each of these games over this series, they're not going to lose. You got pretty much the bulk of your starters going in this series, right? We're going to see Marcus Stroman tomorrow. I believe we're going to see Hendricks on Wednesday, which I'm not going to lie to you, scares the shit out of me a little bit, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. And then you get, the rest of the rotation with Steele and Miley. Then I'm not even entirely sure who goes on Thursday. I think it is going to be Steele that goes on Thursday.
I know Stroman's tomorrow. I think you said that.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Wade was yesterday. So yeah. Because Drew is today. So it will be Steele on Thursday for the getaway game. But you kind of you sit back after this first one, Joey, and kind of go, this is a series this team can take 4 of 4 as long as they can keep riding this high that they kind of built with yesterday's win and they continue with tonight's win.
No doubt. I mean, here's the thing. Like the Reds are playing better ball than what they were to start the season. Because at one point I'm like, is this a real team? Like, I don't know what this team is at this point. Bad. They were super bad to start the year. They're still bad. I mean, they're still a bad ball club, but now they're getting guys that are getting healthy here. We saw Senzel make a couple of nice plays in the outfield. Mm-hmm. He just got healthy. Joey Votto just came off the IL, hit his first home run of the season the other night. I believe it was in Toronto, which was cool to see, even though I'm a Cubs fan, obviously. But I like Joey Votto. He's a cool dude. I like the personality. I think after this long, it's not like the Cardinals where we still hate Yadi Molina. Like with Joey Votto, there's like that respect factor, at least from me. I'm like, that dude's great, and I think he's good for the game at this point. Just when they put him on mic'd up and all that, I love it. But that's one of the guys that scares me in that lineup. And with the lefty going tonight, like we did, I didn't feel as concerned about it because over the last couple of years, they have really struggled against left-handed pitching. Tomorrow against Stroman. Now, they've struggled against both this season, but now that you add that lefty in the lineup like Avado, you've got a couple other guys, Moustakas. You got some guys that can hit right-handed pitching pretty well, and that does kind of worry me and concern me moving forward. You look at Hendricks, too. Joey Votto could easily just crunch him. So, I don't know. I'm not saying that it's like we shouldn't sweep this series because looking at this, and then they also got Luis Castillo who got healthy recently too, and we're probably gonna have to face him in Game 3. So not to be like, hey, we're gonna lose some of these games, but I could easily see the Cubs also not sweeping because it's not a gimme. But I will say, if there's any place to get the bats right, especially like we saw tonight, it's Cincinnati, Great American Small Park, and the pitching over there is just, dude, like some of the pitchers. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, Tyler Mahle, we should be able to get to him, I think. Castillo is the kind of the guy that worries me, I guess, Game 3, but I think it's Game 3. But
we see him on Wednesday.
Yeah, man. This is a get right series, though. If you really look at it, if you believe that you are a better team than the Reds, which I do, I think this team is better. I know we're not completely 100% healthy either, with Nico being out and all that, but I think the Cubs are a better team, and nothing's a given though with baseball. But I think they should take this series.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there too, man. And there's so many guys on this Reds roster that are just Cubs killers, right? Aquino, perfect example, is one of them. Tommy Pham has always been a Cubs killer when he was in St. Louis. Moran is now there, and you're talking about going against right-handed pitching. He's a lefty. We might see him in that DH role, or in at first base if they want to give Votto the DH role. But then they have some impactful lefties. Moustakas, like you said, granted, Moustakas' stock has been down quite a bit, over the last 2 years. But at the same time, he's still a guy that's a power lefty bat, and if he gets a hold of one, it's leaving that ballpark. So I totally agree with you. I think there is that professional skepticism of is a sweep gonna happen? Probably not. But if they play like tonight and you get the pitching that you got tonight, and I think this is a perfect segue into this, you can do it because Smiley looked good. Sure, he gave up the 3 earned runs. It all came on they all came on a pair of homers, for him. Mm-hmm. But only 4 hits, only 2 walks, K's 5, and still goes a strong 5 2/3, gets his second W. Yes, his second W as a Cub. That's the kind of pitching they need. Because again, Drew Smiley's technically your 5 right now with the rotation fully healthy for the first time all season. This is the start of the second pass through the rotation with pretty much the 5 you thought it was going to be once Smiley signed. Because I personally thought Smiley was going to bump Mills out of a spot. Mills has been hurt, so it's kind of played out the way I think most people thought. But you really need to get now better than Smiley production right out of your guys that are 1 through 4. I think tomorrow's a perfect opportunity for Stroman to bounce back. I think this is still a series that can favor Justin Steele. He's looked really good in his last 2 starts, albeit against the Diamondbacks or not. He still looks good. And Hendricks is the one that you're a little concerned with right now because he gets banged around in Cincy. He always has. Yeah. So just kind of like in Pittsburgh too. Pittsburgh and Cincy, for whatever freaking reason, he gets banged around. But then he'll shove in every other ballpark. It makes no sense. But all that aside, Drew Smiley has set the benchmark. And this is where I'm trying to go with this is we got to give him his props. He pitched really well tonight. Again, he's your 5 and he's giving you this type of production on a night in, night out basis when he gets his start every 5 days. You got to feel pretty good about the starting rotation too. Again, if this team is going to make any type of noise this year and at least put people on notice, they're going to need their starters to perform like their starters can. When we look at this team on paper, but overall, tell me about it, man. What a start for Smiley. There was a couple times where he got 2 or 3 outs on 3 pitches.
Yeah, Smiley's been great for a 5 starter in your rotation. I think that's about all you can ask for. Just about every time is really what Smiley has been giving the Cubs. For a 5 starter, that's pretty much the type of production that you like to see. And if we had more consistency throughout for the entire season, Smiley wouldn't even be a concern right now. And he's still not. Really, like you said, the rotations is starting to come together for the most part. And Smiley, it was really just that 6th inning that really kind of, did him in. But at that point, and I know he hasn't been giving a ton of length mostly through his starts, but 5 to 6 innings, that type of range for Smiley, I'll take that all day long, especially in Cincinnati, where a lot of times pitchers struggle. And yes, he is a lefty, so he had a little bit of an advantage in this particular matchup against the Reds. But that said, the guys that you were worried about did some damage. It just took longer in the game to get there. Like Aquino, like that's a guy that has a ton of power and he hits lefties well. So that was one of the guys that you're worried about, and he limited the damage around that. So if you're gonna give up something to Aquino, who's now just a Cubs killer at this point, hey, fine. Like I'll take that, and I'll take the run production that they gave him, because really it lined up pretty well for the Cubs in this series, having Smiley go up against Gutierrez, and then now you have your better pitchers, Stroman versus Molly, Hendricks versus Castillo, which, like you said, we're kind of worried about that one, given the ups and downs of Kyle and the history there. But
we're just
can you badmouth Hendo then?
Yes,
we should.
We're just continuing. Yeah. Just keep talking like this.
This is bad. This is the thing.
You can't badmouth Kyle any other way than he would badmouth somebody on the mound. It's just very passive, so we're passively badmouthing him by saying we're concerned about Kyle. But continue.
Because Kyle's such a nice guy, and he never really says anything that's too out of line. Kyle is the type of guy that will not say anything. He doesn't look like he'd hurt a fly, but he might just kill you with his changeup. So, Kyle, please, I'm just going to ask you right now to channel that energy, channel that inner, like, I don't want to kill the fly, but I just want to, stop it, slow it down. Let's do that. And let's have a solid outing on Wednesday. I know we're skipping a couple. We're skipping a beat here. But, Kyle, you need to figure this out. You need to figure this out. What's not with the up and downs. It's either he's really, really good, Kyle Hendricks, or he's been really, really bad. And I've got people that have been talking to me in these group chats that I'm in. My friends texting me during the games, and they're like, Hendricks sucks. I'm done with Kyle Hendricks. I'm done with the professor. And I'm like, whoa. I'm going to badmouth him for the
graduation was just this past weekend for everybody. We're done. The school year's over.
Yeah, he's not the professor anymore. He's not teaching me anything. I'm on break. But yeah, I want him to figure this out, man. I really want him to figure this out, because if there's anybody that can, like we've been talking about this warm weather Kyle Hendricks thing, hey, you need to start figuring it out, especially now that it is getting warmer. I know the weather's not going to be super good in Cincinnati. I think it's expected to be storms and stuff, but still, man, like warm weather, Kyle, figure it the fuck out.
I love that. Very well defined and well put. But not to get ahead of ourselves, like you said, we do give Drew Smiley his credit where he is due tonight, because he pitched really well. Overall, the bullpen pitched well. Really, the only mistake, Martin threw one bad pitch. Otherwise, he still strikes out 3 in his lone inning of work. Efros, just a clean slate, getting the job done. Robertson, 6 saves now for him. 2 Ks and nothing in his inning of work. So good pitching all around tonight. You got the slug. This is the type of Cubs game where we can sit here after 18 minutes and go, we cover all the good. They slugged. They got the job done. Good pitching. It's a win. We're happy. Now we can go ahead, put it in the rear view, and look to tomorrow, because like we've been talking about, we hope this team can go for the sweep. And in order to go for the sweep, you got to go and win tomorrow. So, Joey, before we go ahead and look to tomorrow's game, do you have any final thoughts for me on tonight's 7-4 win?
They've changed the city name to Ian Cincinnati. Those are my final thoughts. Ian Cincinnati. Ian Cincinnati.
Somebody is going to go on Wikipedia tonight, and for the city of Cincinnati's Wikipedia page, they're going to put that it's owned by Ian Happ, or at least that the Great American Ballpark is owned by Ian Happ, or the Reds, or maybe all 3. I don't know. Somebody's going to get creative, I'm sure. We saw it with the Southsiders with Tim Anderson owning the Yankees. I think we can see it with Ian Happ owning the Cincinnati Reds, because he did that tonight. 4 straight again for Wisdom. Good pitching, things you love to see. We're happy. We're going to put our heads on the pillow tonight as happy Cubs fans. But we are going to go ahead and look forward to tomorrow, because for people like myself who are diehards for the Stroh Show, this is appointment television tomorrow. The Cubs and Reds do battle once again at 5:40 local time on Tuesday, May 24th at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Ohio. You can listen to the game in the Cubs market on 670 The Score with Pat and Ron. And you can obviously watch that on Marquee Sports Network. And for the Reds, WLW 700 Valley Sports, Ohio. And fun fact, if you are out of market, to our friend Tyler, this is for you. It will be on MLB Network tomorrow for those that are out of market. Oh, wait, no, he's in market. Oh, that doesn't happen then. It doesn't work. Sorry, buddy. Hopefully you're in the Reds network somehow, some way. And I don't know. We got to figure out a way to help.
Tell him to hit me up. I'll find a keep it on the hush. I'll find him a way.
All right, we'll figure that out for tomorrow. But nonetheless, that's how tomorrow's game shapes up. And as we mentioned, on the mound for the Cubbies is Marcus Stroman, 1-4 on the season. I don't think that record's totally fair to how he's pitched at times. 4.88 ERA, that's going to come down, and it already has been over his last few starts, and just 28 Ks for him. He is going against Molly, as you mentioned, Joey, who is also only 2-4 on the season, a 5.23 ERA, but 44 Ks for him. Joey, I'm going to turn it right back over to you, my friend. A little preview. What are we thinking for tomorrow's game?
I think it's going to be another Ian Happ show. I mean, lefties against Tyler Mahle. He's kind of weird where he struggles sometimes against righties, struggles sometimes against lefties. He's not really like a traditional right-handed pitcher. I'll struggle against left-handed hitters. He's a little odd that way. But Ian Happ, man, just ride the hot streak. And I think that's going to be key when you get those guys in the middle of that lineup that are coming through clutch for you. I know Wisdom's on a heater right now too as well. Seiya seems to be kind of snapping out of it. I think the first at bat, I don't know why he was looking at that, watching that strike there go by. Yeah. And that's something that I want to see improve too with Seiya. We'll just, he has such good plate discipline and such a good eye that sometimes, maybe he's just being a little bit too passive. You know what I mean? And I think that kind of, he's getting respected as having such a good eye that maybe it's getting to, I'm not going to say it's getting to his head, but maybe it's getting told to him that he's like, oh, you're such, your eye is so good. You have such a good awareness of the strike zone that maybe sometimes you're a little cognizant of that as well when you get up to the plate. And it's like, hey, if you see a good pitch, especially in that situation, you got to pull the trigger, and he did that later and then came through clutch. So just smoked it off the wall. So I'd like to see the middle of this lineup really do some damage. Obviously a great outing from Stroman, the Stro Show, and let's get another W.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you there, my friend. And I'm going to make it really simple. I agree with you on the Ian Happ. I think there's a chance that Wisdom keeps going. As Scott from Iowa says, let the Dingers pod know that Wisdom going deep again. For those that know, they always pick their dinger of the night. Nobody's been picking Wisdom, and he's consistently coming through. So certainly got to let them know what's up. But plain and simple, I need Marcus Stroman from his birthday start in Milwaukee. I know he can do it. We all know he can do it. And obviously his last game, it was first time back for him in 17 days. I think he pitched on the 18th. So, he was probably rusty. He wasn't, in the same rhythm. And you just hope he can get back to said rhythm. And I think he's got a really good opportunity tomorrow to do that. He's just really got to be careful, cannot hang anything over the plate because of how great American plays. But outside of that, he should be able to minimize any damage, kind of what Drew Smyly did tonight. And as long as they can do that, the Cubs continue to put up runs, that'll be good. But I think it all starts with the Stro Show on the mound. You certainly got to he's got to be the Stro Show. And if he comes out and performs the way we know he can, the Cubs will be in good hands for tomorrow. Joey, always a pleasure, my friend. Before we get out of here, I do want to remind everybody, Cubs on Tap is the official Cubs podcast, the On Tap Sports Network. Check out all of our great work over at OnTapSportsNet.com, at OnTapSportsNet on social media. You can follow our pod-specific account. We are at Cubbies on Tap. That's on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Loose on Tap. Joey is at Joey Knows Nothing because that ends in IN, and that stands for win, baby. And all the other great contributors here, Juice on Tap, Teddy Freddy 270, Brandon Kane, and so many more that contribute to Cubs on Tap. Be sure to follow them. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks, we got it all. And yes, Cubs fans, we all have friends that like the Southsiders. You know the drill. Send them over to our friends over at Sox on Tap. We've also got bets. Joey's all over that, making money out here with his pick of the days. Be sure to follow along with that on Twitter, and on TikTok, actually, Twitter and TikTok. And, golf, you name it. We got it all. We got the Chicago Wolves run being covered right now. They're in the Calder Cup playoffs. That's going to be my little shameless plug on my end. Again, you name it. We've got it. Be sure to join us. All of our great work on TapSportsNet.com, at OnTapSportsNet on social media, the OnTap Sports Network. Go ahead, check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Joey, before we get out of here, though, there is a good question I want you to address from our friend Scott here in the comments. He has a case of Yingling Lager and Lager Light. Which should be the choice for tomorrow?
Oh, I
this
feel
is
like
the literal hashtag Crack'em question of the day.
Hashtag crack 'em. Right now, I'll tell you just what I'm drinking. I'm drinking a summer shandy, Lion Kugel. It's like it's been nice outside. Well, I guess it hasn't been that nice. It's been a little cool, but like I know it's going to be hot, and summer shandies are just pretty good when it's hot outside. But I'll say, Scott, Yingling Lager. Just gotta go traditional. I like the Lager Light as well. I like them all. Just Yingling, period. But let's go with the Yingling Lager. Really, you do what you want, but that's what I say. Go with the Yingling Lager.
I'm gonna jump on this question as well, Joey. Scott's gonna get 2 for the price of 1 here. I'm gonna say go with the lager for tomorrow. It's supposed to be a cool, brisk 68 in Chicago. I would imagine it's probably gonna be pretty similar in Iowa. Go with the regular lager for tomorrow. Save those lager lights for the weekend. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous over Memorial Day weekend. Go with the lighter stuff on the weekend.
Yeah.
That is my personal opinion, even though, according to Scott, it's hashtag gross. But nonetheless, I think that was in relation to your Leinenkugel, if I had to guess.
I got you.
I think that was your summer shandy, my friend.
My dad got me kind of on these. And I will say it's just kind of just something smooth that goes down pretty smooth. It's not like favorite beer. Like if I'm picking a beer, it's not like, oh, this is the best type of beer, but hey, it's something tasty. I don't know. To me, it's like, okay, I like this taste. But Yingling, nothing matches, nothing compares to Yingling in my book. Scott, go with the Yingling. Ron says lager too. Let's do it.
Yeah, I dig that. I'm drinking some Texas Ranch water here because I'm on a kick with them right now. But Joey, my friend, this was fun. Cubs win. That's also fun. It's also cool and fucking tough. What do you say, my friend? We get out of here the only way we know how at Cubs on Tap. Let's go
Cubbies.